Hello and welcome to the latest episode of yet another Arsenal podcast. I'm Mark and I'm here with Anfield 89 veteran Richard.
Hello.
Right, now I know you want to start with temperature checks and this, but I want to ask you a question first.
Go for it.
Which is your favourite super slow-mo Eze goal?
Do you know what's... It's a tough choice. My favourite super slow-mo of the game, which was hilarious, was, I think it was celebrating the second one. Have you seen it? When they're all celebrating, Declan Rice is standing there and Saliba runs past him and slaps him around the chops.
Sending off offence. So I was very, very negative about Michael Oliver in the previous episode and him, but he could have sent it. Imagine if he sent him off.
Oh, it was amazing. Absolutely amazing. I think it's the giggle second goal is mine. That's my favourite.
No, I like, right, so imagine your Destiny doggy. Is that his name, Destiny?
Yeah.
For years and years and years, no matter what he achieves in his career, whenever Arsenal play Spurs, there will be a shot of him going outside for a hot dog as he cuts inside.
Well, he slides past him.
Slides gives it an element of control, coolness, like Tom Cruise in Risky Business. He slides. I don't know what.
That was amazing. Yeah.
But we're ahead of ourselves. As you can tell, we're dealing with the luxurious glow of spanking them 4-1. 4-1.
4-1. And it was a
Yeah, well, you might have been comfortable. I was... But not for football reasons. As I've said before, I am terrified watching the Arsenal a lot of the time, but only because of football karmic, what can happen reasons. If you take all the passion out of it, you're right. It was just a normal, routine home win against some mid-table shit. But let's go.
Slapped is the word I said it would be, and slapped they were.
Indeed, you take that. You can take that one home. A good old-fashioned slapping. Love it. To the extent, right? Do you know? Maybe it's a question of our age, but after a derby, there's a bit of banter between you and the other side, and But it's one of those games where there hasn't been much of that because it was just such a comprehensive. They might be Spurs fans, but some of them are your actual mates, and kicking them when they're fucking down is a bit... It's
been pretty silent on our WhatsApp groups, hasn't it? There's one or two dangly messages, but that's been about it. And I messaged a friend of ours who is a West Ham fan yesterday, and I said all the Spurs fans must be on the same mobile network because I haven't heard a peep from any one of them since Sunday night.
Yeah, radio silence, and that's just the way we like it. I wanted to go back to the beginning of the game before kick-off. 3 things struck me of various significance. Least of all, I think, was Hincapié coming in. The sensible choice, like for like. I mean, he is a 50. I know he's on loan, but we'll end up spending 50-odd million on him. He can't be a mug. If Mosquera is the Saliba replacement, then Hincapié must be the Big Gabby replacement. Yeah. And I thought he equipped himself really well and typified by the 4th goal. I think it was the 4th goal where they lobbed it up to, and he absolutely monstered him in the air. But not for the first time.
He didn't lose a header. Every... Okay.
And you noted what you described as a lovely Ecuadorian diving header.
I mean, you know me as an ex-central defender myself. I have man crushes for certain types of defenders. You remember, all during the 90s, my Subotic, I loved the Serbian centre-half. I now love myself an Ecuadorian centre-half. Yeah. He's uncompromising. He's got a lovely barnet. He's up there on the barnet scale. He's got a lovely barnet. He won every header. He's uncompromising. His passing range is phenomenal.
Yeah.
And was sealing it late on in the game in our box with a diving header. I thought, just when I couldn't love you anymore, you're in. You're for me, son.
Yeah, he did well. The Tifo, that was pretty good.
Magnificent.
I'm left a bit cold by Tifos, I must say. I'm a bit shruggy shoulder, but in that context, that was a good one, I thought.
Yeah, one problem. I don't believe Ian Wright was on it.
Wasn't he? That is bang out of order.
Yeah. Although I did enjoy Big Soul right at the top. I may be wrong. I thought it was...
I think him...
Odegaard, Saka, Henry...
Campbell,
Tony Adams. I was like, where's Wright?
Yeah, he should be on it. He should definitely be on it. He scored a number of lovely late goals at White Hart Lane, some of which we spoke about last week, including a last-minute winner. I think he did a last-minute equaliser in the 90s as well, when we'd been comprehensively outplayed for the whole game.
Yeah, as was our want at that time.
Yeah, and those sort of undeserved 1-alls away from home, almost as enjoyable, but of course not as enjoyable as 4-1 victories. The other thing pre-game was the team selection of Spurs. Now, Mikel Arteta was interviewed in the build-up to it. He doesn't give a lot away, but I thought he did give something away, and I'm going to surprise you. He reminded me of Tim Sherwood.
It's not a comparison that I expected, but please expand on that.
Well, when I say Tim Sherwood, I mean the complete opposite. So if you cast your mind back to the cup final versus Aston Villa, where 4-0, I think we won, one of the most enjoyable cup finals. One that I didn't, unlike the whole game, where I still wake up in the night seeing Fabianski charge out of his goal in the last minute of extra time.
Like the Light Brigade.
If that was a harrowing experience and a game that lasts 7 hours, then the Aston Villa cup final was a beautiful stroll in the May sunshine. And I remember Sherwood's interview before the game, because Theo Walcott surprisingly had started that game in place of Olivier Giroud, and they interviewed Sherwood and they said, bit of a surprise, and he basically said, yeah, we've been practicing for Olivier Giroud up front, so we'll just have to drop back an extra. Basically, fucked his entire gameplay. It hadn't even occurred to him that something different might happen, and I think that's a big contributory factor in the result. I thought about that when Arteta was asked about Thomas Frank's 3 at the back with Danso playing, and he said, "Yeah, we kind of discussed that. They might." Basically, not only was it a stupid formation, they were ready for it.
They knew they were going to do it.
I think Arteta had correctly guessed that is what they would do. And, you know, he is a tactical details merchant at the best of times. But if you have played into his hands, you're fucked.
Well,
go on.
he did the same thing against City. Every big side he's played, that's what he's done. Now, barring City, which is a weird one because they all somehow managed to have City's number, it doesn't really... You look over history as a manager, that's the system he likes to play. When you come to the Emirates against us, he knew he was going to do it. He just knew what he was going to do.
He'd sort of shown his hand a little bit against PSG, but if you look back through his Brentford days, he used to play 3 at the back on all away games and all home games where they were the underdog. So it is something that he knows. But I guess the difference is Brentford were built in his image, signed all the players. They had like the 3 centre-backs, like I think Peacock, me, and another one I can't remember now. But anyway, they were set up for it. And, you know, we go away, we play like this. We're at home, we play like that.
Yeah.
Spurs haven't really got that yet. He's only 12 games in the league, and it takes time. As we say, it takes time to bed in that stuff.
But I don't think he's going to get that time.
No, I don't. We'll come on to that, why that is as well. Spoiler alert, it's because we're doing so well. That's why.
But I think we started the game. The start of the game went as expected. Spurs sat deep. They wanted... I think their thing was, let's get through the first 15 minutes. Let's take the sting out of the game. I mean, the possession was as expected, but when Spurs had it, they didn't do anything with it. That's the thing.
But you say like that's what they wanted to do. Declan Rice had a massive chance in the first 3 minutes, which was kind of a harbinger of things to come. I was worried that we'd wasted the opportunity to like fuck their game plan up. But their game plan was so poorly executed because, they were in the box, but we were having loads of space. I wonder if this little scoop pass is going to become a little tactic of ours in those, because it's not the first time we've seen it. And
Eze, Merino, there were a few of them.
And Zubimendi did it against Sunderland as well, a little scoop. And I think maybe West Ham, maybe? Did we play? When Timber sort of narrowly... I mean, it's a difficult chance because you're tearing into the box at a rate of knots, and the ball is sort of scoopy. It takes a while for it to come down. So, like, it's not... But he caught hold of that when, as many of people said, if he'd dragged it a little bit, it probably would have gone in.
Caught it too well, Jeff. No, if it had a little bobble on it, he just hit it so pure. It was a fantastic technique, fantastic strike, but that made it easier for Vicario, who
it did. Well, it hit him, really, didn't it?
It hit him. Now, going back to Spurs' tactics, if you're playing for set pieces and when you get one inside your own half and your tactic is let our goalkeeper launch it forward, it helps if you have a goalkeeper that, in my opinion, can feel his feet. I have never seen a modern goalkeeper with such bad distribution. It is horrific.
There was one notable example of that where, again, so it's offside 2 yards inside their half or whatever the infringement was. He comes up to boot it. I don't think it got above waist height.
He shanks at most things. Everything sort of drifts weakly left or weakly right. He can't kick.
It was one of my favourite moments of the game that didn't end up in a goal, which was, so he nurdled it, basically, to Zubimendi, who I think volleyed it at goal.
Yeah.
African Cup of Nations from the 90s style, from the edge of his own box.
Yeah. And you can't... Okay, that's the way... It's difficult. I know we started with, let's get our defence sorted when Arteta came in, and I understand that. But he still adjusted his tactics for the players he had until he got the players he wanted. It seems that Thomas Frank, come hell or high water, is using the Ruben Amorim system. This is my system, and my players have just got to play it when you haven't got the players to do it.
Yeah, I think that's mad, because we do have a sort of set starting formation, but it is very loose. I mean, as like Chaos Calafiori shows, like your left back popping up in the centre forward position after time. But the spaces that he wants our players to operate in do change. Because I remember that like great speech he did. I think it might even be before Emery was appointed. He had some speech about what he wanted to do. And when it goes like, I want us to do loads of what we're good at. I want to find out what they don't like doing, and I want to make them do it a lot. And that I was like all in on Arteta at that stage. I've only had one moment of doubt.
You have. I wasn't going to bring it up, but
I'm happy to own that. Is like,
I remember the wording.
1-0 defeat at home to Burnley.
I remember the wording or exact wording of the WhatsApp I got. I don't think he's the one.
Yeah, well, I was pretty frustrated. I've seen enough because I was so optimistic, and that was a real low. But anyway, let's not dwell on defeats and when I was wrong. Just
going back to what you were saying there, sorry, about looking at what we want to do and what the opposition don't want to do. We'll go into the game in a minute, but I would just like to give massive praise to Merino. Yeah. Because what Spurs want, what they wanted was Merino to play on Romero and on Van der Ven. Physically, they love that. So what did he do? Drop back. He dropped into that space between Eze and the back four. They didn't know whether to leave him, come with him, and he created chaos with runners past him.
Yeah.
That caused them fits, and it was such a great game.
Yeah, it was. It was almost like having two false nines with Eze and Merino sort of alternating between. I mean, I'm not a tactician by any means, but like those 9 and 10 position, and maybe like Gyökeres being out, and the fact that we were able to discover that Merino could do this job or was this type of player was a bit of a fluke, really. To me, he was just like a sort of squad player that could fill in, and nice technical, neat and tidy player. But obviously I was wrong about that, and maybe he was wrong about himself as well. He's discovered this side to his game, and I think he's had 27 goal involvements for Arsenal and Spain over the last year, which you would never imagine how much money we would have had to pay for him if he had this in his locker. Rather than
if he'd been used in this role.
Yeah. So it was great, and that him dropping into that space is where the first goal came from.
Yeah.
But now, I have to confess that in the moment, both of those actions of Merino and Trossard, I found a bit frustrating because I thought they'd gone the wrong way. As Merino got in that space, and there was loads of out to the left, there was loads of stuff that he could have done, but he sort of turned inside a little bit. And I thought, oh fuck, he's gone back into traffic, and then he put in that little ball over the top, and then Trossard controls it, but it takes him so his back's
to goal.
I thought, he's fucked that. And in 2 minutes, I'm off the seat on his way.
Again, Trossard quite frankly, for 35 million, is one of the best buys.
Yeah, I'm not even sure it was that, actually, because he only had, I think he'd fallen out with Brighton and he had 18 months on his contract, maybe. And the fact that he was second choice to £90 million worth of Mudryk is like bullet dog. But, you know, maybe Arsenal didn't go that way because they were never going to pay that sort of money for Mudryk. So, but as you said, and we mentioned that Trossard has basically seemed like he's had the ump the old time he's been there. He's quite a miserable sod, isn't he? But I do wonder whether he had said to Mikel and the stuff like, look, give me a run of games. I'm not getting because he's in and out the team. He comes on the sub, he does well. He starts the next game, he doesn't do so well. You think, well, maybe he's just an impact player. But he has had a run in the team now. And you could say he's been justified. He's got Saka-like numbers in terms of involvements and opening the scoring again. And I think he's been brilliant the last few weeks.
Fantastic. It's fantastic. And that's the whole reason we built this squad. To win the league, in the toughest league in Europe or the world. Every game, there's no easy games in the Premier League. Another cliche, mark that one up. But there's no easy games in the Premier League. You need that squad. And I think last season taught us that. There was a lot of talk, me included, going, we can get this one, that one's play left wing. Trossard can go. Thank God clubs saw otherwise.
Yeah, and I mean, you never know how true this is, but he said he was never going to leave. It was forbidden. Which are massively in favour of. And one of the players that we did think might play on the left was Eze. I think he'd played there for Palace against, or as Idris Elba called him in the pre-game.
Crystal.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. But when he was playing for Crystal against Chelsea, he played off the left and he scored that free kick that was harshly... And that's where I thought he would be. Yeah. But, our squad building is such, and we've got players that can play in multiple positions, and Eze obviously loves playing in that little role. I think he's a little less of an Arteta player than I was expecting. He will lose the ball more than Odegaard does in that, but he takes more risks, and I think as we saw on Sunday, he strikes the ball better.
He's almost the opposite of what Odegaard gives you, which I personally think is not a bad thing. Because you've got horses for courses. Odegaard's a very high touch, high press fulcrum in that position. And there are games where absolutely we are going to need that. There are other games where it's tight. Teams are going to, don't get me wrong, a lot of teams are going to sit back. But should I say high quality sides where it's a little bit tighter, he gives you that almost X factor. Yeah. Where he can drift into those positions where maybe harsh to say, but Odegaard won't take those shots on the edge of the box, or if he does, they're not of that quality. 3 strikes, he doesn't even hit the ball hard, and he's like a cat. He caresses the ball. He can hit it hard, he can caress it, left foot, right foot, it doesn't matter. And having that in the squad, all right, he's a far lower touch, not in the game as much. Having that in your squad is invaluable, and I think by far and away that was his best performance, irrespective of the goals.
Yeah, I agree with that. And the first goal was an example of what I think you're talking about, is that it wasn't the perfect opportunity to strike because there was someone there. And I think Odegaard has been reluctant to take those shots on. Yeah. And when he does sometimes, I love watching him as a player. He's exactly the sort of creative player that I really love to watch. And he's busy and he's industrious and he's skillful and he's imaginative. But sometimes when the ball comes back to him on the edge of the box, I'm disappointed by the strike. I don't know whether he's not relaxed enough, or I'm sure it's a mental thing. Obviously, he's a brilliant player. But Eze, on the other end, when that ball came to him, Declan Rice alive to a loose ball as it fires it in, he sort of just hit it. Lampard, how many goals did he score? Where he just hit it and relies on the strike, a little flick, goalkeeper unsighted, and it's 2-0, and it's basically game over at 2-0.
It was, to be honest, with their game plan and setup, it was game over at 1-0. It was game over at 1-0. At the time when you're sitting there and watching it, you don't feel that because it's a North London derby, but their whole game plan was keep it tight, let's see if we can nick one from a set piece. And when you're set up like that and you don't have the players on the bench to change that, if you go goal, it's a very, very difficult.
Yeah, it is. It's a long way back from that. But, one goal changes it. And so at half-time, they had to come out and have a bit of a go.
That went well.
Well, I did say to you, what did I order after? I said, dear, Eze's much more religious than I am, but my own little prayer that I offered up was, dear the good Lord above, please let us make it 3-0 after 30 seconds.
Yeah.
And
he delivered.
Loath, it came to pass.
Oh, yeah.
And I love those goals where they've obviously had an absolute bollocking at half time. Someone's been taken off. They've ripped up the game plan. This is what we're going to do. We're still in this. 30 seconds later, no, you ain't. You're out of it.
And in those moments, I don't know why I do it, but during the celebration, I didn't watch Eze. I looked at the Spurs players' body language. That's what I do. When it goes in those sort of situations, I watch their players' body language, and they were done. The shoulders went. The slow-mos are great of the third goal because you see them all turn away, head to the sky, head down, shoulders slumped. They know it's over.
Yeah. I didn't feel that it was over. And we were kind of, I think we were actually never in any danger whatsoever. But their goal put shit out of me because of basically PTSD of other times where I think either last season or season before when we were 3-0 up and Raya had a brain fart and then we gave away a penalty and it was 3-2. And what turned from a stroll became an absolute terror. I think there was a time at home as well, maybe where Aaron Ramsdale made a great save from a deflected Son shot that tipped it onto the bar. And all those kind of things are going through your head. But in retrospect, now that we know what happened, all that really happened is that
it was an uncharacteristic mistake from Zubimendi. You don't see him do that often.
I know, but I mean, the finish as well. I mean, you'd take that risk that he'd lose it and the finish goes in from. Is it 36 yards? I thought on Sky. I thought it was further than that because it was. I don't know. Maybe I'm misremembering it, but it seemed like a 40+ yard finish right in its goal. I mean, because Raya was basically there. He was back and he launched himself in the air. It was not like Schmeichel the other night, who just ran back and saw it sailed over his head. That was a perfect finish, which makes it even funnier that Richarlison has scored the goal of his life,
and it will never be remembered.
Never be remembered.
It'll be, It'll be on one of those stupid Spurs clips at the end of the season, like when Van der Vaart scored that Rabona against us when we beat them by, 3 or 4 that day. They still talk about it. No one cares. You got beat.
Yeah, exactly.
And that was, to be honest, Richarlison's, I would say it was his only contribution. His other contribution was trying to go round and injure someone. I know people say...
snidey way as well.
I mean, he kicked... Was it Hincapié? He caught him waist or midriff height. If you watch the replay for the first goal, when Merino puts the ball over the top, he clatters into him after the ball's gone. He was just running around trying to... And he's got a face I could never tire of.
Yeah, his tattoos are not good either, are they?
No, awful.
I love a tattoo, as some of you will know, but not those ones.
And that was their only meaningful. I think their XG was 0.07. They've offered up the 2 lowest XGs in Premiership history, and I believe now it's not something I do often because I like to, obviously we've all been absolutely devouring social media over the last few days.
Oh yes.
And you see lots of ranting and raving from Spurs fans. But what I did this morning, I was out walking the dog, and one of my broadcasting heroes, Mr. Danny Kelly, has a really good Spurs podcast. So I just wanted to get a bombastic thought. You've got Jack Pickbrook, who writes The Athletic, a sensible view of how they are feeling at the moment, and they are on the floor. They are on the floor.
That really makes me happy.
Yeah. They are questioning Frank's tactics. I mean, that sort of result hurts, but 4-1 in the North London derby can happen, as we've all seen. But it was the manner. Yeah,
and I actually think that Frank has lit the fuse of his own sacking for that. He's on borrowed time now, and they'll be changing the manager probably before the end of the season, which is a stupid thing.
Of course it is.
I think. Because I think he is a competent manager. He made a mistake in a big game, but doesn't mean like he's some sort of flawed character that we'll never learn from that. I mean, we'll talk about like my 40 days in the wilderness after I left the Arteta flock. during COVID. It's like I just couldn't see it. Like at first I was really like the way they started playing. They were tightened up defensively immediately, but then when they started losing stupid games, and I thought, oh, we're just a mid-table team here, and that is part of the short-termism of football generally. But what I love about it is they've probably got themselves an half-decent manager. I'll guarantee you, let's take that result out of the mix for a minute. If Arsenal were where Man United are today, or Liverpool, having a bit of a dodgy start to the season, they wouldn't be nearly as frustrated. It's because they're like some little tiny object in space, and this big Jupiter-sized planet is next to them, and it's affecting everything they feel as a club, and it always has done. Like they stuck with Pochettino for a while, and he started doing. For a while they had the upper hand, but as soon as that started to reverse itself again, and they didn't have one decent season, they panicked and threw it up and started all over again. And whatever they did then, they're still working through now, getting Postecoglou as well. The fact that we're brilliant makes such a difference to their own decision making, which is a mad way of making decisions. You shouldn't think about that at all, but they won't be able to help themselves.
I mean, look at their stadium. They built that capacity just because it was slightly bigger than ours. We are in their thought of everything.
Yeah, that's true. But I only think about them when they come into our orbit.
Or when I can have a chuckle if they've lost a silly game at the weekend, or maybe tonight.
Yeah, well, let's see if he plays 5 at the back tonight at PSG. So that was a very successful weekend of football, including all the other results. Man City
it couldn't have been better.
Newcastle. We could have been better. Chelsea could have lost, but I think that's been a bit greedy. But we got them next, so we could be. I think it's so important to win that game, and then we'll be a minimum of 7 points ahead of City, 9 ahead of Chelsea. Fuck knows how many in front of Liverpool. I don't know.
It's 11 at the moment. It's 11 at the moment. I mean, it could be 14 the way they're going. I don't know who they've got.
Yeah. I don't know, but does it matter?
No.
I mean, they've just been done 3-0 at home by Sean Dunn.
I know. But it's and looking at it, obviously, as we've been talking about the looming spectre of Haaland. But if you look, they are the epitome of a one-man team, because their next top goal scorer is Doku with 1.
Yeah, but it don't matter. If you are a one-man team and it is that man, that's dangerous.
Yeah.
Right. So they're gonna be dangerous. You can easily lose 2 games on the spin in February or March, and we've got some fixture congestion coming up. So I really want to get a nice little buffer.
Totally.
So when we have the opposite of this weekend, which must be coming round the corner, we don't collectively shit ourselves. And because we're being set up at the moment, the whole
totally the press
team, because there's so long to go, and as you say,
3 weeks can change everything. 3 weeks can change.
Yeah, so you're basically 3 weeks away from being second at the moment, maybe even less than that.
Yeah.
So, but it is looking pretty good at the moment. But when the later stages, if they're going to play a 2-legged, if they beat Palace, they'll play a 2-legged semi-final in the Carabao Cup.
Mm-hmm.
Probably be they will be in the last 16 of the Champions League. That's almost certain, without the playoff, and then hopefully quarter-final, FA Cup, get a favourable draw first couple of rounds, and then you're around April, March, and you're where you want to be, right? This is not moaning. You want to be in the late stages of all competitions going for it, but that brings its own pressure. So,
and we also have Man City on the 8th.
That's the day after my birthday, might go to that.
Yeah. We got them, then Newcastle, so it's a trick. It's a solid.
Yeah, but you can always point to little.
It might not matter by then, but it might.
Yeah, of course. One little bit of concern that I've got at the moment, which is following the Leeds game when we made loads of changes and brought Dalman on and took him off and brought this guy on. Kind of saw it at Sunderland, no subs until right at the death. And then again, I thought we could have changed more earlier. I thought Calafiori was very quiet in the second half, and we know that he's been carrying a bit of a knock, and he looked a bit limpy when he came off. We got Bayern tonight, and then Chelsea at the weekend. I don't think those 11 players that started should start at all of those games.
No. And I think tonight is the one where we can make some changes. We don't. Oh, okay. I know we want to win games. We don't have to win tonight.
But will he though? That's the thing.
That's what
Mikel Arteta does not think about it like that. He will want to win this game tonight and show who is because really the top two teams in the league. We're at home. We should be setting the culture is we win every game, and I'm fine with that. What I'm not fine with is people like Ben White, even Norgard. I'm not saying they should start tonight, but they need to be getting more minutes. Miles Lewis-Skelly
might start tonight. Yeah.
He might
no,
do.
I agree with that.
Atletico Madrid, and because there are some injuries in the post if there's not. And what we don't want is this like revolving door of like players coming back. And
then on the other hand, Martinelli's just come back. He's another few days away from that injury, so he can rotate with Trossard. Madueke's back and looked fairly lively when he came on. So depending what's happening tonight, you can bring him on for Saka, save some minutes for Sunday. The options are coming back. Odegaard's back in training. I'd give him 20, half an hour. He might be fit to start. I can't imagine Arteta will start him after being out that long against Bayern.
Someone who's just scored a hat-trick as well.
Yeah, there is that slight fact as well. Yeah, but there are rotations we can make tonight, and they are, thankfully these days, they are top quality rotational players.
They are, and that's why I'm a little bit more frustrated that he hasn't made them in recent weeks. Maybe there are reasons for it, I don't know, but that is my one concern, that I think Arteta's big weakness, maybe his only weakness, is that he gets a little group of 15 players who are in the circle of trust and everyone else is in Siberia.
But then Ben White, as we've said before, 18 months he played. He put his body on the line for the club. We don't know what effect that's had on him. Are they carefully managing his process?
I mean, when he does come on, I don't think he looks particularly fluid or the same, like physically. He does look a little bit like something is affecting him.
And let's be honest, if you did have the best right back in the world at your disposal, you're going to fuck.
Yeah, Timber. I mean, that is the thing about. So who have we spoken about? We've spoken about Trossard, Merino, Hincapié, and Eze, obviously, right?
Rice was incredible.
We're leaving out like 8 and 9 out of 10 performances there. Timber, Rice, as you say, Zubimendi, getting full possession of the side, just like. There was one moment I think typified the difference between the two teams where they did try and break, and what's his name who they signed from West Ham? Kudos.
I genuinely forgot he was playing.
Well, he had a run down the left wing to try and break, and I saw it at the bottom of the screen, and it was a flash of red running with him, and it was Zubimendi. Really putting it in to cover that space, and that is the sort of awareness and willingness to do that sort of work that the other mob just did not have.
I mean, in the middle of the park, their tactics were similar to ours. When we got to, say, the final third, they would have 4 men around the Arsenal player with the ball. They just weren't aggressive about it. There was no pressure. There was none of that. We could do it. I mean, let's be honest, when it's Declan Rice and Zubimendi, you only need one player there. But when we hunt in packs, 9 times out of 10, we come away with that.
Yeah, but I don't think it's like a mindless, let's run after the ball.
No.
It is a details-oriented, you stand there, you stand there, you stand there, you go, I'll be it. Right? And that is the detail that Arteta is putting into him. And it was such a tactically brilliant performance. And maybe we're getting to something that I don't think we've had for a while, which is basically teams are beaten before they come here. I think over the last few years, I think there is a feeling that you can frustrate Arsenal with a low block, ruined by the set piece ability that we've had, or you can make it into an emotional game and they'll let their heads run away with them. But all that is going away now, and so that is why that Rice chance was so important. It was almost said to both teams, look, you fucked it here, and we know already. And as soon as that goal goes, because I think I've seen it in the past where teams do go 1-0 down, but their game plan doesn't change because they're still only really there to nick a goal. Now they're just going to be coming. Some of these lower mid-table teams, they're going to be coming and keep the score down. And I think that plays into our advantage at a time when our rivals are showing signs of weakness and people fancy themselves against them.
Yeah.
No one's going to be. I mean, it's a shame we played Liverpool at Anfield when we did, because I don't think we had the full information about where they were as a team. But now teams are not going to be frightened of going to...
No one's scared. No one's scared. And manager's going to say, first 10 minutes, if you get at them, that crowd will turn.
Yeah.
And that way. But going back to that with our mentality, after Richarlison scored, I think it was probably a 5-minute period where, okay, you could see only looked slightly rattled, and then they were back on it. Back to the game plan. Passing was sharp again. Yeah. We know what we're doing. And where in the past, the emotions, we were a lot more emotional in those situations where they're just not. They know what they've got to do. They know they can do it, and they believe they can do it. And
And what do we think tonight? Harry Kane penalty? When is that going in the net?
Getting his obligatory penalty. Kane obviously he scored a hatful of goals in the Bundesliga. He's playing very deep these days. I still say we're the better side. I do.
Yeah, I think Arteta is a better manager than Vincent Kompany, and let's see if we can prove that tonight. So it's one of those things as well. Like I often like it when we play Spurs and it's their biggest game of the season. It's not really our biggest game of the week.
Yeah, exactly. And I think not only was it there's two sides to it. It wasn't just a completely dominant performance. Eze's coming of age against the side that desperately wanted to sign him in the summer. It showed everyone, well, guess what? We don't need set pieces. So it takes that narrative away, and it has crushed our neighbours. I wouldn't say rivals, I'd say neighbours. It has crushed our neighbours.
It has crushed that. I think that is a great place to leave it there. Playing Bayern tonight, as you probably gathered from how we're talking about that, and Chelsea at the weekend. And we'll be back next time to pick the bones out of those two games. But until then, we'll see you later. See you later.
Yeah.
Very good.